I'm Autumn Brown, front woman of the soul pop band Autumn, a queer science fiction writer, a theologian, a mother of dragons, and a healing justice facilitator for social movements living on Dakota and Anishinaabe land, currently known as Minneapolis.
And I'm Adrienne Marie Brown, a dragon baby, a luscious Black queer witch writer auntie, an apocalyptic love scholar, public conversationalist, and gardener of healing ideas. I live in the land of the Okanichi, Shikori, Squirure, Tuscarora, Eno, and Lumbee peoples, currently known as Durham, North Carolina.
I love that you just stay coming up with new titles for yourself.
Thank you.
Public conversationalist.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, she is a public conversationalist.
I just want that to be clear. I was like, that's
not a public speaker.
I'm not a public speaker, and I'm not a big interviewer, although I can do it. But really what I love is a good convo.
A good conversation. And this is a good conversation called How to Survive the End of the World.
Our podcast about learning from apocalypse with grace, rigor, and curiosity.
As a reminder, we have no ads because we're better than you. We are listener supported.
And you are the better people who are the listeners. Girl. So join our Patreon for exclusive content.
Exclusive.
All right. Do you want to read this exciting, thrilling bio that we have, or do you want me to read it?
Oh my God. So wait, can we both read it?
Okay, let's go.
Like, I'll read the first, like,
No, I'll read the first line, and then you read the second line.
Okay.
We'll just go
we'll go back and forth. Okay.
Denée Benton is a fine-ass American actor and singer, currently playing the journalist Peggy in The Gilded Age.
She played Eliza in Hamilton for over a year on Broadway, and before that was nominated for a Tony for her turn as Natasha Rostova in Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812 with the American Repertory Theater.
She uses her platform for activism. She is a Capricorn with healing powers, and we both love her dearly as an alum of our inaugural Writing the Next World retreat in Ireland.
Hey, girl.
Welcome,
Hey.
Denée.
Oh my God!
I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy I'm here. I was like reading your bios while you were saying them because I have it all memorized like a freak. Theologian, mother of dragons.
Yes. This is why I have to change it up sometimes, right? Because I'm like, there might be something new. You never know.
True.
We're so happy to have you here with us, Denée, and just to get to reunite with you. And we're going to start, as we often do, with just a little check-in, how we're each doing right now at this moment. So, Autumn, you want to start us off?
Sure. I'm a week out from returning from vacation.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you. My sweetheart.
Your eyes stopped twitching.
It stopped twitching while I was on vacation. It did start twitching once I got back.
No, come on, eye. Dang.
It was like within days
So
of returning.
literal.
My
You're
eye
like,
was
no,
just
I'm back in this world.
But that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a barometer.
Yeah.
It's working. But no, I had my sweetheart and I had a beautiful vacation away where we really the commitment that we had made to ourselves was because we've traveled a lot together, but always attached to something else that's happening for one or the other of us.
Yeah.
And so, or just with other people involved. And so we made a commitment that we were going to go on vacation. It would just be the two of us, no work attached to it, no work happening during the trip, no distractions, no other people, family or friends, just pouring into one another and pouring into the relationship. And it was
raw dogging the relationship.
Delicious.
Balls to the wall. And so, and it was so magical. And it was it really did fill the cup of the relationship. And it really filled my cup. And I can just feel how there were some kind of slightly overwhelming work projects that I had to come back into, but I could feel how much slowness was still in my body all week long this week. And that was really cool to notice that even though there was stuff I was having to work hard to get done, my body was still like, and now we're done looking at the screen for that one. We're just done with that. And that's nice. It's nice to feel the cue in my body, So
yeah, good job.
Yeah, so I'm here. Minneapolis is the snow has melted away. It's in a warming up process. Ice is still here, as folks may know. And so that's sort of there's like this sort of steady underlying drumbeat of like, their activity. And our community remains very strong and steadfast and brave. And even as things continue to change and shift in how we are responding. So happy to be here and happy to be back.
I'm really happy you're back. I missed you, but I'm really glad you got that time. You needed it.
Thank you.
Denée, darling, how are you doing today right now?
How am I? I went to the Haley Williams concert last night, which our good sis can fucking sing. Okay. It was incredible. But I have a very sensitive system. And so when I'm like around that type of high octane intensity the next day, I'm usually like a little vibraty and wobbly. And this morning I did that thing where it's like I'll try to steal my alone time back, but then I did it by scrolling, and then you're like, oh no. And then you're in that loop of like, why didn't I just go to the sun? Like, the regenerative choice. But I will say that spring makes it so much easier to reset. Like I don't feel lost in the loop. And so I grew up in Florida. And so the landscape doesn't change that drastically throughout the year. But when I moved up north for the first time, like I freak out every time the tulips start and the cherry blossoms start. Like I don't understand how people are walking around like it's normal. Like it feels like I'm on mushrooms. I'm just like, oh my God. Like, have you ever seen a red so vibrant? Have you ever seen? And then there's this like one in my neighborhood that's like a weeping willow, but it's of pink cherry blossom flowers. And it was just like, the sun was like shining through it. I literally like twirled around like Belle and like Beauty and the Beast. Like I feel like after coming out of many demolition years, this spring is just like hitting me really different. And I feel, so right now I'm feeling a little crusty, but also thankful because I just like am looking at these little budding leaves right outside my window. And it just makes me feel like I'm going to burst.
Hell yeah.
I just love it so much.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, and especially, I mean, I feel like New York, it's like you come out of snow poo. Like, it's really like really the most dire. Poop snow. I don't know. It's just like
and
poop
these
snow piled
banks,
on
like these ice
banks. Yes.
You don't mosey anywhere. You're just like, let me get the fuck where I need to go.
Right.
And
it's
then
like you lose faith that like it'll be nice to be outside again, and then it returns.
And then all of a sudden the world,
spring is for moseying and frolicking. Yeah,
like a candy Dr. Seuss book. All of a sudden, so like I'm tired and I'm thankful for these little candy flowers.
Nice.
I love that.
Adrienne, how are you, sister?
I am right now today good, solidly good. Like I got to spend some time with friends last night. Like we do these little PJ party circle ups, and we needed it. Like everyone's going through some different stuff, real hard things, and it was just so fun to get together and laugh, like to look at our hard things with laughter and to look at it with tenderness and to be like, does this dream mean this? Does this thing mean that? And this week was really intense. I was thinking about just the contradictions of living in a moment like this, where it's like, on one hand, our government continues to spin off the rails and threatening the whole world with nuclear apocalypse on Tuesday, and then but no, it's just abusive relationship gag, and like it's just the same thing, right? It's just like, no, I just
literally.
So yeah, just the collective abusive relationship that we're all in right now with this leadership is so rough to move through. But then on the contradictory, the other side of it is like the most amazing space crew ever, being so like generous and loving and making me cry every day and geek out about like the color palette of the moon and just, I mean, I've been
who
like,
knew?
Right.
I'm just
Jupiter's
like, the moon is so stunning.
I'm just like, wait,
I can't believe
it's
it.
brown?
I was like, it's brown and pink and
there's
like
sparkly
blue.
spots.
And there's a part that looks like Mario's butt. I'm like, I'm blown away.
Mario's badonkadonk on the moon.
Badonkadonks. I was like, wow. I love that. Yeah, I'm just like, this is the range of world we have to live in, and then trying to like hunker down and do some creating inside that. Like I'm like, how do I write on a day like today? Know, but I feel good. I was able to write a poem out of all the emotions I was feeling, and I swam every day. Oh, and the other big, amazing news is I lifted 105 pounds this week.
Wow.
Which, I've been on my like weightlifting journey, and it just really occurred to me, like with what my knees can do, like I'm not going to be running from the apocalypse or towards the safety or whatever. I do need to be the person who can like lift the enemy and throw them. That's like my new goal. It's like, I can, how much do you weigh? I can
body
lift you and throw you. I can throw you away from my people. I can like push you back. I can hold the gate, hold the door, like just building up the stamina to be able to like carry our supplies. And I just feel like, I don't know, there's something really, I felt orgasmic joy.
You are the Hodor of the apocalypse.
I'm the Hodor. I'm just like Hodor.
Yes,
Hodor,
but that's
Hodor,
not going to
Hodor.
be your journey. That's not going to be your journey.
except for that last part.
You make it through. Exactly.
I mean, but I'm going to make it. No spoilers, but I'm going to be the Hodor.
No spoilers from Game of Thrones.
I'm like the Hodor hottie.
5.
Like I'm the one who's
the
like,
Hodor baddie.
We still want to bring her with us. We still want to make sure.
You're just like twerking, keeping the door
I'm just closed. Like, I'm just twerking, and then like someone throw me on the back of the wagon, at the end. I'm just like,
exactly.
No demons, go on back. But so I feel all of that. Like I'm like, I'm feeling all this aliveness, and then at the just so much tenderness. I have Iranian friends, I have Lebanese friends, I have all these people in my life who, it just keeps being like, this is the worst week of your life ever, and you continue, and my country is responsible for that, and we continue, and we relate, and we hold the complexity of it, and it's all at once. All at once. I have a tarot card to offer into the mix today from the Lineages of Change tarot that I drew for us, and it's Ace of Fire. I pulled it reverse, so I'm just going to share a couple words about what the Ace of Fire contains for us. So the suit of fire overall is the suit of transformation, of the sun's fire contained within the branch. How do we do the work of alchemy? How do we spark flames, stoke fires, contain and harness our power of destruction? We get in touch with our passion. You hold all the potential of creation and transformation, but in reverse, you may be forgetting who you are and what you are made of. Stardust has a tendency to shine. Fire has a tendency to burn. Change is God, and God has a tendency to create. Remember who you are. So I was like, we need that today. And Toni Cade Bambara said, as a cultural worker who belongs to an oppressed people, my job is to make revolution irresistible. And I was like, we are talking to a cultural worker today who I think makes revolution irresistible. And I'm really excited to explore this fire with you in the year of the fire horse.
Damn.
So, right?
Wow.
It's Fire Horse.
It's
Aries season. It's just fire.
6 planets are in Aries right now.
Yes.
It's why it's giving war.
I know every day Chani comes on, she's like, hey, y'all, sorry, guys, but just do your best. Chani's just like, just do your best. I don't know.
A lot of fire.
So, Denée, with all that fire on the ground and all that we are doing, I wanted to ask you, we wanted to know, when did you know that you were called to the stage?
Ooh. You know, it's really interesting you saying this fire thing, because I read this thing the other day about in Chinese medicine, spring is a really delicate time because they're like, you can't be too stagnant like it's winter, but then if you burst the flame too soon, then you burn out. And so it's like this kind of constant DJ boothing of your energy. Yeah. And
I like that the Chinese medicine folks knew the DJing stuff.
Yeah, I sort of added the DJ boothing flair, but because it's like an image for me of that kind of give and take, which exactly has a lot to do with how I like figure out how to sustain this strange fire of being a culture worker, actor with using your body. But it was a spark of creation. I feel like my mom said I was like 3 years old at church and someone was singing on stage. And I like tapped her and was like, I'm going up. And I just took the mic and sang Amazing Grace. And I had this thing where I would like try to move my chin like Whitney Houston.
Oh,
you know? And
yeah.
So this like video of me like, and like this big. And, you know,
I love that.
It just like was like, oh, that's where that's
me.
They're doing this for me.
Yeah.
And you know, that confidence didn't stay, but it was early. And then I also grew up just like deeply Pentecostal. And so in that kind of space, like you have prophets come through the church all the time. Like they're seers, you know, and now I'm like, oh my God, these were all psychics. Don't let them hear you say that I called them psychics, but
I won't tell.
Don't tell. But, you know, prophets would come and just kind of like speak over my life as a kid and be like, this is what she's going to do. And it aligned with my desire already. And it took me time, I think, to understand what it meant to get to the stage or get inside of the screen. But that kind of like artistic expression just always made sense to me. I didn't quite understand like why you would want to do anything else with your time.
I love that. And you broke through pretty early. Like, I feel like the energy you've put towards the stage has been like, oh, hell yeah, come here.
Yeah. It's so interesting being a Capricorn because like, since I was 23, I'd be calling my mom and be like, I'm going to be a has-been. And she was like, girl, how are you going to be a has-been? You haven't been anywhere.
You haven't even
like, like, what are you talking about? And so it's really in reflection now that I can say like, oh, I was on Broadway at 25 in this huge production, but my body really did not take well to any of it, even though I was shining so brightly. And it's really been now like a decade in that I'm learning what it means to sustain. But drama school was such like a big part of me learning how the dream becomes reality. And then my first gig was a national tour out of school. But Great Comet felt like it was meant for me. Like I had a lot of ego, or not even ego, bitterness, I think, in school around the limitations of like no one imagining me as the ingenue. And so once Natasha came along, it was like in this time in the culture where I think people were really trying to explore that kind of casting. And it got to be this like real starburst moment for me.
Interesting.
I love that.
Well, yeah. So we wanted to dig a little bit more into your experience of being cast and experience being casted. Not cast in stone.
Not like Harrison Ford. Okay.
Right. You from what we have seen, you are often playing really persistent women who are turning their pain into projects that serve their communities. And we were wondering, like, from your perspective, like what is going on in the way that you are casted and the experiences that you have in casting? Would you say that you feel like I've just gotten lucky a few times to be like to be the inheritor of a role, or would you say that there's been, like, have you positioned yourself in particular ways in order to be able to inhabit those particular types of women?
Oh my gosh, that is so interesting that you use that language, because I have a Scorpio moon, and they say that language is like you use your pain and alchemize it into medicine for the collective. And then I have this.
Okay, sorry.
Fire rising, Earth sun, water moon. All I'm saying.
That's who we are.
Just saying. And then I have this tattoo, which is Kumba, which is the 6th day of Kwanzaa, and it's using your creativity to leave the collective better than you found it. And it's funny because it's always hard to speak about this in more like traditional interview spaces, because my spirituality is so deeply tied to my practice. Like when people are like, when did you know you do this? I'm like, the ancestors told me this is what I have to do. And, you know, at Vogue, they're like, girl.
And they're
what?
like, okay, so they're like, 3.
Exactly. But to answer your question, it's strange because I feel like I'm in this kind of spiritual conversation with the roles that come to me. And like, I don't get the parts that don't cost a bit of my own blood or a bit of my own, like I've lived through some kind of metaphorical parallel that my character's going through. And so like a decade in, I'm like learning like, oh, Peggy found me at that time, or Natasha found me at that time, or Z found me at that time. And oh, I had a dream about this color, and then that's like the color of my costume, or I had a dream about this character. And there's like this whole conversation happening, and there's like, I can feel this fire, this passion. Like I have to be her, because I am her. And so yes, there's the logistics of like agents and timing and casting, and you meet a director, but I'm very early in the stage of like being offered things. Before it's really been like, there's been like a real symbiosis with this creator who is seeing something specific that like my particular passion and zest for life. Cause I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Like I'm very
zesty.
Yeah, like I'm like this.
I mean, I haven't met anyone who's not like wrapped around your finger, but yeah, okay.
Well, I'm in the right room. I found my people.
Yeah,
but
that's
you know, there in our industry, there's also like a very kind of like opaque, like nonchalant,
aloofness,
fatty, aloof, like fashion girl.
That's not
and
you.
And it's like, I try to be her. It's like I want to come back as like a Gemini so bad. And like,
mysterious, aloof. Nope, not me.
No, I'm as chalant as they come. I'm earnest. I'm like, you know, and so I think that, and every time I try to like break up with that part of myself, I reach this kind of stagnancy. And then when I lean into it, it's like, I'm like, tweaked out just enough to catch the right person's eye, and then we find the new person that's supposed to be birthed. If that's useful.
I think it's very useful, and it feels very resonant, right? Like I think in every life there's what the world brings to your table, and then there's learning how it's like I have to be my whole self and see what actually matches with my whole self, you know, and like keep moving towards that, even if it is. I mean, I think that we share, all three of us would have to say we're chalant as fuck. And we care, you know, there is that sort of theater kid energy, that
earnest theater kid.
Earnest theater kid, where I'm just like, I really do want things to be great, and I really do want everyone to feel these feelings.
And I believe in a happy ending.
I believe in a happy
exactly. I give myself the ick constantly. And it's like, it's a real self-love process. Like, you know?
See, that was what I was talking to my friend, you know, the friends I was talking to last night. I was like, yeah, I just don't know how to be in a conversation and not just be like, and here's how I really feel. You know, like, it's just like, why can't I chill? Like, my partner's so chill. I'm like, I can't do it. She's just like looking cool, and I'm like feeling feelings. Anyway, I love that, because I think that it translates into incredible characters. Like watching you on the stage, watching you on the screen it's always a revelation, because it's like, oh, you're you care, and it shows, and it flows through the characters who also care. You know, like Peggy cares so much in Gilded Age, and it's just like so moving. And anyway.
Well, can I ask one more follow-up before we come to the question you were going to ask, Adrian? I'm wondering about, you know, as you named, like, you came into this industry at a moment where people were willing to take a risk on a proposition that should never have felt risky in the first place, right? The idea that like a Black woman could be an ingenue.
Yes.
And I'm curious to know, right, there's so many Black women across the history of screen and theater, television, film, who have walked that sort of those steps of risk ahead of you. And I'm wondering who, like, who, when you look at the sort of the lineage that you stand inside of, like, who are some of the Black women who've gone before you that you really feel like I see myself in this particular lineage of like Black women, like actresses, thinkers, musicians. And have you gotten a chance to collaborate with any of them?
Well, yeah. I mean, the main one is playing my mom, which is like never undone. Sorry. And then the other one's playing my mother-in-law.
Wait, tell them.
Oh, Audra McDonald and Felicia Rashad. Like, you know, they have... Because I think what's interesting, we're living in it inside of a global perspective too. We go through these cycles of fascism, of progressive, of this and that. And so our industry has had many of these openings, and then there's a retraction into conservatism, and they make us all forget and erase history. And then, oh my God, she's the first. And it's like, we've never been the first, right?
Yeah.
But I would say, honestly, like, Zora Neale Hurston, I find her, the fact that she's ungovernable, so sexy and delicious. And I think as a girl growing up, I went to church in Eatonville growing up. And so she was always like a part of my consciousness creatively and reading her work. Diane Carroll, obviously, I think a lot about. She's played like so many powerful cunty women on television at a time. I really love Betty Davis, who was like, the musician, you know, who really like made Miles Davis's whole new aesthetic. And I'm really into I was raised in such an intense respectability politic that I'm really attracted to the artists, the Black women who are alternative, like the punk girls, even though you won't see Peggy and think of her as punk, but inside of her context, like there's something, she's totally punk. You know what I mean?
Punk AF.
She's rebellious. She's rebellious and unexpected.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I think there's something in it. It's like, as you're speaking of these women, they're all women who are like, you may not see me as an equal, but I already know that I'm a equal. I know that I'm equal to this moment or whatever.
And I'm not even fully human. Like I'm divine. Like Zora was like, I am.
Yes.
I'm something else. Like, I've never forgotten that I'm Stardust. I've never forgotten that, like, I can talk to the trees. Sorry, y'all can't.
Yeah.
Vary the way I have to approach, because I get kind of bored by the discourse. I get kind of bored a little bit by even, like, the PBS special of it all. Like, I'm tired of the phrase Black excellence. I'm tired of all of it. I'm like, I'm Stardust. We have the sauce. We've always had the sauce. And y'all forget and remember every once in a while. And I have to continue about my business.
Hell yeah.
I love this. I love, like, it's so clear how powerful it is what you're doing within your work, right? Within the work of acting, within the stage, within the lineages of bringing Black women, and then just sort of blowing up the containers that are offered to us. And I also want to ask you about the activism that happens outside of the particular role, or it might be both, like in and out. You'll tell us, but I'm really curious if you could trace a bit of your political awakening, your political journey for us. And like, were you an activist before you grew this platform, before you were on the stage, or is that awakening something that's come more recently as you've had to figure out how to wield a platform responsibly?
Interesting. Yeah, they don't feel like separate instruments to me. I think that like in my most macro and like most granular self, I think artists, I think especially Black artists, like I think this is our priest's work. Like, I think it's a type of channeling. And I think theater, its original rituals for society and for cultures were, you know, the priests were leading us in ritual to process trauma, to process the changes, to process so many things. And so I believe had I been born 3,000 years ago, I would have been doing this work just like around a fire maybe, but it would have been the same embodiment, like it would have been the same kind of story I'm trying to tell. And now we have different technology. And so because of that purity and because my like relationship to falling in love with acting and singing was always in the language of like, you've been given a gift that you have to share. And so it's always like, this is something that comes through you and you have to do something with it. It's your job and your service. And I'm lucky that I really love doing it, but there was always an element, and that's like the church kid stuff where they were like, baby, this song's not for you. It's for the people, you know? And so I think because of that, I have always felt a kind of responsibility to like, the light is not only in the song, it's also in how you connect to people. And I think growing up in my particular identity praxis was, my family is from like really rural Florida, and my immediate family was kind of like the first, kind of like Peggy's family, like the first financially in our family to sort of have upward mobility. So I was always really confused as to why the white kids at my school materially had more, and then my Black family members didn't have as much, and I was caught in between. But then y'all don't rub your grandma's feet like we do, so you're missing something. You know, there was I was always trying to figure it out. And then I think my parents were always very community-oriented people. My dad was like the second Black mayor of the Confederate town we were all born in. So there was always like an energy of, this is about more than just you. Yeah. And then by the time I got to theater school, I remember seeing Black Power mixtape in college for the first time. That documentary that the Swedes made that was like, I think banned for a while. And it was my first time really learning about like the war on drugs and like the CIA's involvement and all of these things and why Black neighborhoods were deconstructed on purpose. And it was such a political awakening for me where I was like, that's why learning these languages at like 21. And then I would say my biggest political education and kind of awakening was inside of a theater collective called The Team, where when I haven't been on Broadway or haven't been filming, you devise pieces all together as a collective. And it's like a 20-person ensemble. And like our oldest person was, God bless her soul, she passed 2 years ago, but Miss Viney Burroughs, who was like 94, had been acting in Harlem since she was 4 years old, like had a 90-year career, was a cultural worker who traveled all around the world. And then the youngest was like a 21-year-old right out of theater school, and everyone in between. And we were making work about, can intimacy between Black and white people exist in an anti-Black world? Like that was the thesis statement. And I was just around the most brilliant thinkers. You know, we're watching lectures by Hortense Spillers and Brittany Cooper, and we're like trying to turn it into work. And then inside of that, I met my spiritual godmother, Ia, who was Milta Vega Cardona. My queen. She was like our processing chaplain, which is what we ended up naming her. And she originally was leading us in anti-racism workshops. And then eventually, as she got initiated into her priesthood practice over like the 6 years that we were making this, like 3 other people got initiated into different indigenous practices. Fascinating. Wow. And one of the practices we all had to do as like a reparations inside of our little bubble was all of the white people had to travel to the Atlantic Ocean to Far Rockaway every morning and gather a gallon or like one of those big blue liter thingies of ocean water and bring it to our rehearsal space every morning. And we would pour libations in honor. And so that was like, we were like making theater, but it was ritual. It was political. It was all these things. And so that kind of shaped me. And then I kept thinking, oh, everyone must think like this. And so then I would be going on like red carpets and giving interviews and being like, beep, bop, boop, bop, beep, and thinking that it really shaped me. And now that work we did is on the road on its own. I'm not in it anymore, but my words are there. But it was like always this tap in, like that was my theatrical, political, spiritual home for like the last half of my 20s. Long-winded. I hope it's not.
That's beautiful. It's actually really, I think it's so important. One of the things I think we're always trying to remind people about surviving the end of the world and being a part of change is like, there's so much that happens at the scale of a community, at the scale of a circle, at the scale of a practice group, at the scale of like just folks who are like, let's get rigorous together about figuring out the rituals and practices we need to survive. And then I love that you talk about the awkwardness of being like, I never quite know how to talk about that to the rest of the world. I don't want everyone to dismiss it. It's actually really important, but that's what this whole season is about. It's like the art and ritual and beauty that also shapes and rechanges the world. And like the reason that revolution absolutely needs artists every time, like it just cannot work without artists. And there's a reason for that, because we're willing to, go to the ocean in the morning and like whatever it takes,
for like $50 a week. And we're like,
So we know, because we're friends, we know that you we know that you've been thinking about how to activate wealth and celebrity in this time, and perhaps it's a nascent project, but we were wondering if there is anything that you wanted to share related to that work that you're thinking about and what you're trying to call in at this time in terms of activating people at that intersection of wealth and celebrity.
Yeah, it's something I've just been wrestling a lot with. I feel like it's interesting being a part of different waves of amplification in our world. Like we watched the wave of people sort of feeling brave enough to speak out about the genocide in Palestine. But it was on the backs of people who had been doing it for decades and decades and decades. And then there were the people who were kind of brave enough to be like, we're going to do it all online right now. And then now it's such a norm in the sort of industry of celebrity for the kind of buzzy faces that I can often feel like, okay, now what? Like, that's great. And I am also interested in the fact that generationally, like, the power and cachet of celebrity isn't really what it used to be. Like, people are kind of burnt out by seeing the shiny faces. Like, my nieces and nephews watch YouTube. Like, they don't even really clock the people who are passing. They're not clocking the people who are like, I don't even think they watch the award shows where a lot of these things are happening. And I'm like,
right.
What does it mean? Yes, we all are so great at a hot take now. I've gone viral for a few hot takes that I didn't even realize were hot takes. I just was thinking I was making sense. And I'm like, that is not necessarily a value. And it's not that it's not, right? Like, I think there was definitely a place, and there's a place to synthesize really sharply for people. But there's so many levels to this game. And I'm like, when I look at how much the average American family is making to like live their life, it's absolutely untenable and insane. And then when I look at what the average 1% is making, I'm like, okay, yes, being an artist is unpredictable. We're all scared to lose our money. We're all scared to not have security. But what would it look like if maybe instead of a hot take, we had a fund? What if it looked like if we were able to direct some of these resources together so that
what I love is that this is also a hot take.
I'm like, nobody else have any more hot takes. I just have one more. That'll solve everything.
How about just give the money away?
Yes. And I'm not the only one thinking like this by any means, but I feel like I was like, I don't really know if like a viral statement on the carpet means as much as anything really, because when I look back at the artists I really respect, like Aretha Franklin was putting her money where her mouth is. She didn't really have a phone to stream anything, which matters, but she knew the people she was looking out for. And she knew, like, I'm on tour. I'm not going to your protest, but my coin means something in this particular fight, right? Mm-hmm. I look at, like, Paul Newman. Like, he gave so much of his money to, like, helping take care of children with different disabilities. And I'm just like, I'm interested in the relationship that we're dealing with fascism, and the relationship we're dealing with AI, where, like, child, when they arm these motherfucking robots, you can't protest a robot. You know what I mean? And I'm like, y'all are so ready to see a cat dance in heels that you're like not clocking what we are like making permissive. Yeah. And so this isn't based on any math that a statistician has given me, but I feel like we're in this 5-year window of like our labor actually meaning something, like controlling, bringing it back, pulling it forward. Our bodies being leverage is, I feel like, not going to be as leverageable for long. And so I'm interested in my relationship to different people who I know have a fuck ton of money, that are also bleeding hearts, that also are like, I just want to help. But weren't necessarily in Alabama with the theater collective, learning how to talk to the ancestors and how to shape their minds for their money. It's like good hearts, but not necessarily the consciousness work. And so what it means for those of us who have access in some level of this kind of consciousness to be like, this is what you do with that. Like, with all that feeling and all that money, let's put it here. And how can we make it micro, but kind of gather. Jane Fonda had sent out something about when they were all in the McCarthy era, and how like the artists had gathered during that kind of wave of fascism. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that, but not with speeches. Like, let's do it with Manyan. It's kind of where my visioning is. Yeah. Who can we like pay to stay home so that they're safe, or so that it's a little disruptive to the flow of things?
Yeah. I mean, I really love that you're thinking about this and, beginning to invite other people to think about it with you, because I do think, we're so far past time for a general strike based on the conditions that we're in, based on needing to uproot the current leadership, but also like longer standing patterns than just this current leadership. Like we're so past that. But I think our economic condition makes it so much harder for people to understand, like, oh, like I have to really withdraw myself from the system, but how would I do that? And one of the ways is if some of that wealth gets redistributed so that it can be used to support people taking a risk, like staying home, like striking, like protecting a neighbor, taking in a neighbor. And what I hear in you is just this idea that we can reclaim the power that others assume we have. Because I think that's the next kind of question I have for you is like, when you have a platform, people who don't have that platform are like assuming like that is power. You have power. Like you need to say something, you need to do something. But then when you're in that platform space, first of all, I meet so many people who have those platforms who feel very powerless and who feel like everything is so fragile and precarious. And if they say the wrong thing, it's over for the rest of their lives. And then I also see people who are like, do the bare minimum, where I'm like, yeah, like you said, you can make a speech on a red carpet that just fortifies everyone's positions, or you can do something that actually changes lives or changes the culture. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about that piece, because there is so much fear. People are so scared to be canceled. People are scared to lose their agents. People are scared to lose their jobs. People are scared. And I see you consistently standing up for the communities that you love and being willing to speak up, speak out, join with other people. I've seen you and Cynthia Nixon rolling deep in different places. And I just see you repeatedly finding the courage to use your platform and push the boundary of what you can do. And I just want to know, like, where does that courage root in you? Like, was it always there? Is it part of this theatrical self? I think you've sort of whispered at that a little bit throughout this time, but I'm like, is there more to say there? Because it feels very clear. You feel very clear.
It's interesting because some of it feels like my neurodivergence, if I'm 100% with you. Like,
interesting.
Sometimes I say things and I'm just like, this makes sense.
This makes sense.
So I'm not discerning necessarily where danger is all the time, which I think as I'm becoming more visible, I am heightening my awareness to it. And I think that I don't know, y'all. Like, sometimes I feel like I'm protected. Like, I feel like there are ways where like I get the desire to say something and I think it's like a channeled speaking, and the people who need to hear it, and the people who don't, because I don't know why in those years I didn't lose my agent and why I didn't. I don't know where my cone, and some of it also has had to do with like our show. It was like not as successful as it is now. So people like, I was sort of giving like, if you know, you know, that was my platform. Like, I wasn't on everyone's radar.
Right.
You know, in ways that I think my ego didn't love. But now I think I'm like, maybe like the divine knew that I needed some more time to cook and time to pop off and time to create these different relationships, now that I feel like I'm in actual community with the people who've been my political educators, right? Like listening to you guys' podcast, getting to make relationships with different artists who are actually on the front lines. Yeah. And I'm regurgitating information that I vibe with. Yeah. And now it's like, oh, would I say the same thing on the Tony stage that I did 5 years ago? Maybe not. Maybe I'm going to try to put that into action instead. Like, that is kind of the standard I'm trying to hold myself to. Like, can you also, like, if you're not being about it, do you get to talk about it quite so much? And the answer doesn't have to be no, but as I mature, I think I'm trying to rise to that in a bit of a different way. And I've also
speak louder than words. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've also been really lucky where like, I'm passionate. This is the shit that I just talk about. And so I think people like Cynthia were like, oh, I have a place for you. Or like, oh, have you thought about coming to this thing? Yeah. Oh, have you thought about? And then there's like, oh, this is how I can channel this passion. So I'm constantly kind of learning from people who have been in this walk for a really long time. And I think our relationship to surveillance really does scare me too. Just like, it's really hard to organize in any kind of anonymous way until you're like ready to be seen. So I am kind of like, okay, boom. That was like level 1 of platform usage. We learned, we were throwing stuff at the wall. And now what does like elevated mean now that people are checking for you a bit more in a different way? And so how can you be efficient with this? And I also didn't see myself as a celebrity for a long time. And I still don't really, because as soon as you get to another room, you're like at the bottom of another room. It's like how this whole game works. And so I think it's kind of been useful for me a little bit to be like, nobody's checking for me. And it's like, well, maybe they were a little, but it gave me, I think, a bit more courage.
I love that.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that.
It feels like really good for young artists and young actors, especially to hear that. It's just like, go ahead and be brave and courageous and like learning and taking the risk. Like, the platform will come or not come. But like, being who you are is part of what's going to create the path that is meant for you.
And surround yourself with people who excite you, not just because of their aesthetic. Like, it's been a real learning curve for me to learn how to match style and substance. Like, I feel like I was like full of all the sauce, but like no style for a very long time. And now I'm trying to merge the two, because you gain more power, you gain more access, and but keep the people and the artists and the visionaries in your life that loved you before you were aesthetic, because that will keep like that'll keep keeping the fire tended, you know? So you're not just a shell. A very hot shell.
A very aesthetic shell.
But I'm working on the aesthetic, babe, because it all works.
It all works. You've been great.
Speaking of the shell, You were saying earlier on in this conversation how when you got your first big role on Broadway that your body didn't take to the experience of I guess performing in that environment. Mm-hmm. And I know that you've been through a whole journey around just like how to care for yourself and how to, and I'm sure you're still very much in a journey around like, how do I work? And like, how does this work? Mm-hmm. And what works best for me? And we've been very impressed by just watching you navigate that. And we were wondering if you could just talk a little bit about like what have you learned about how to sustain yourself as you make these really big creative offers into the world that take a lot out of your body or require a lot of your body?
Yeah, it's actually, it's been like a process wrapped in a lot of grief because, you know, 8 shows a week is not sustainable for like really anyone. It is such a challenging thing to do to one's body. But really recently I found out that I was born with this condition and it acts as a sort of quiet disability. It's not really visible to anyone else, but my body taking things so hard and my joints and my nervous system, it doesn't bounce back in the same way that I think being able to go at the high octane pace of being an artist and a socialite and all of the things that are required to be this business. My body was like, no. We need to take baths and rest and eat. But I think recovering through so much, people pleasing, codependency, all this stuff, I was just pouring from an empty cup always. And so much of it, my 20s was like shining really bright and then coming home to absolutely nothing in my form and just being like a dry sponge. And I feel like as I've like ritualizing the acts of self-devotion, like really giving myself permission to become a little self-obsessed has been really important to my healing and to figuring out the medical care I need, to figuring out like where my no's need to be, because it like no one knows these things, but on Broadway, like I was like near death a couple times. Like my body was really like, no. The day of the Tonys, I was like 109 pounds and like, I couldn't keep food down. Like it was just too much. I was blind in one eye for the Tony performance. My body was just like, no, wow, too much labor. But then you're 25, you're excited. You don't want to miss this moment. And so every job opportunity has brought me closer to what I need to feel supple and well. And now it's like, I asked someone at a party when I was in LA in January, I was like, okay, so what are the people who are not on cocaine doing? Like, what are they doing to have this energy? And so like, I'm learning what the Hollywood girls are on. Okay. Like I'm learning about the peptides. I'm learning about the things. I'm learning about the stem cell regeneration. I'm really like sounding like a biohacking bro, but I'm like, I have to be well. Everyone else can't be the only ones enjoying what I do. Like I need to be able to enjoy this. And I think, being the only daughter in like a big Black Southern family, you just start taking care of people so young. Yeah. Before ever pausing to be like, girl, how are your knees? Like, how is, and so, but
how are you doing?
How are you doing? And like, you really will, the body will shut down. And I think that I can have grief because I was dealing with so much of that in my 20s. Instead of like going to the club after shows, I was like trying to figure out acupuncture and what time I needed to eat. And so now my deal with myself, I literally made it this spring, was like, my fun and my pleasure will not be sacrificed. Like if I have to go home from the club and take an Epsom salt bath and move an audition the next day to something else, like I want to have fucking fun because that makes me want to go dance around and sing and tell stories. And if it's all just work, I might as well be an accountant, Like I chose the fun job for a reason.
Right.
But it's a journey. It's something that I talk to a lot of younger actors about a lot. Like, I'm always like, how's your body? How's your body? Okay, I know you had like an event and this, but like, how's your body? Yeah. And also making peace with the fact that like, I do have to nurse myself differently, and I want to be one of the regular kids who don't have this. But it also is like, my nerves are more sensitive than the average person, which also makes me a better actor because I feel, you know?
That's really.
There's this yin and yang to it all.
Mm-hmm. No, I really...
It's all part of it.
I really, really appreciate this. You know, I think we're all in the same journey right now, figuring out like, how do I live in this world and care about this world and give to this world, and also, you know, harness enough joy and care and aliveness inside this vessel of myself in order to like keep caring, you know, because I'm just like, that's the thing is I'm like, it's that joy and connectedness that makes me care about the world and be able to pay attention to it and be able to care about other people. Like, my compassion feels so directly linked to my aliveness, and that aliveness is something precious to be protected.
Yes. Yeah. And your book was like, it was such a big part of me gaining language for that in my early 20s, because I grew up in such a like repressive religious environment that like feeling safe, like, but my erotic self is where I create from. And so feeling safe to integrate those people. And it's also weird because in some ways I'm cracking the code now of feeling like my healthiest self, while it seems like the world is kind of crumbling. Yes. And I'm like, oh no, like I'm stepping into my highest timeline. I'm finally feeling like a bad bitch. Like, give me some more years to flirt. But I was like, I'm like, nuclear bombs, hold on, please. I'm finally hot and well. And I will say that a lot of the grief I've had around being a late bloomer, like coming into my queerness later, coming into so many parts of myself later, being like, I had this my whole life. I had this disability. I have ADHD. What? Now I'm like, maybe it's good that I'm on the second line. Like, while everyone else is kind of burnt out and crumbling, I'm like, no, my family's been talking to me about the apocalypse. I was reading children's book version of the Book of Revelation when I was like 6 before bed. Psycho. But I don't panic in the same way anymore, because I've died plenty of times. Many things that I'm like, okay, maybe it's good that I'll be feeling hot and vibrant now. Maybe I'm one of the people who's supposed to be able to help us still feel alive.
Hot and vibrant for the apocalypse. I love it.
You know,
I actually think it's really huge. And I do want to say, like, I feel like this is one of the things I feel like Black communities, Indigenous communities, so many communities are like, we have died so many times. Our people have been erased or attempted to be erased so many times. And so we really understand the strategic importance of joy and the strategic importance of like building and shaping culture and building culture. It's just like culture gets built from
you have to catch a vibe. They were always like my grandma was like always catching a vibe, and like this woman was picking cotton with asthma. Like, that's crazy.
Right.
Yes.
Think about
it. She was doing it.
Right.
You know, and it feels like the tech bros, their nerve endings are a bit dead. Like, they can't, it's so like, you know, you looking at a tree through a screen is not the same as touching one. And I think there are many of us that have to like keep practicing being alive while they try to make that like a niche experience.
Yep.
Period.
Bars.
You know?
Absolute bars.
Shake these bones, oh God, shake these
bones.
Oh,
thank you so much, Denée. We love you. Here we go.
We love you.
I love you.
Thanks for listening to our show. We're on Instagram at EndOfTheWorldPC.
You can make a sustaining donation to our show by visiting our page at patreon.com/EndOfTheWorldShow, where you get our show inside a show, Top Culture, on Mondays after each new Friday release.
Another incredible thing you can do to help our show sustain itself is to write us a review on Apple Podcasts if you are an iPhone person. This helps people looking for good new content to find us. Thank you.
How to Survive the End of the World is produced and edited by the very sweet Zach Rosen. Transcripts are in our show notes and on our website at endoftheworldshow.org. And we give a special thanks to Samira Abdurrahman for all the support behind the scenes.
Music for today's show comes from Autumn, the band, Tunde Laniran, Mother Cyborg, and the Bangsons.
Love y'all.